Hello and welcome to the Raptors Reaction Podcast. I'm your host, Lou. You're listening to the Hello and Welcome Podcast presented by Betway. For all your sports betting activities, hit the QR code that you see here on the screen or follow the link you see in the description of the episode. Raptors win tonight, 118-109 against the Utah Jazz. That's not necessarily the story of the game, really. The story of the game is the Raptors are flip-flopping on the tank. Like, what is happening here? I kind of personally, it is quite annoying that we watch a whole game and then our big takeaway is just like, wait, are they tanking or not? Because, realistically, it shouldn't really be about anything other than the game. But we also know towards the end of the season, this is stuff that happens, especially when the Raptors are in the position that they are right now. And all the signaling, both explicitly in terms of on camera, in public interviews, and all of that, and also implicitly stuff that people have told us behind the scenes, people who have received messages behind the scenes. It's pretty consistent. Raptors say they want to tank, but I'm very confused as to the result here. Not that the Raptors could, beat the Utah Jazz. I mean, the Utah is, genuinely one of the worst teams in the league, and we saw that tonight. Obviously they held out a couple of guys. That's kind of what they do all season here. They are on the road. They struggle, all that. They're just not a good team. So it's not a surprise that the Raptors beat them. Honestly, even if the Raptors rested even more guys, I think they could have still had a good chance to come out with the same result. But what's confusing to me is you still had a situation where Raptors were only up 6 midway through the fourth quarter. And they had been leading by double digits, and Utah had clearly some advantages in this game, most notably through the paint with Walker Kessler. And it looked like the Raptors were going to, successfully tank their way into a loss here, which would have been quite unlikely, especially at home against Utah. But the Raptors had a really good chance to tank it, and instead, Darko actually put Scottie Barnes and Immanuel Quickley back into the game to close it, which has not been the case for the last couple of games. When they were in Orlando, the first game, they took Scottie and IQ out. They never came back in until, later on. And then ultimately at that game, really, they lost momentum and Orlando had a chance to ultimately force overtime. But Franz Wagner couldn't get the layup. The following game, which I think was tipping their hand even more, was just Raptors took out Scottie Barnes and Immanuel Quickley with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And those guys never came back in, despite the fact that the Raptors were in a one-possession game right until the very end, until Jacoby Walter hit the game-winning 3. Those two guys were all watching from the bench, celebrating from the bench, and, you could not actually see their presence. And so I thought it would be a very similar thing, especially when, with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Scottie Barnes and Immanuel Quickley come out. You're like, well, sounds like they're going to do the same thing as they've been doing, but nope. They put them back into the close the game, and what would you expect other than for these two guys to actually make a big winning impact? And that's where Immanuel Quickley especially came back in, knocked down 2 threes immediately, and the Raptors were able to once again establish a double-digit lead, and at that point, Utah had nothing really to threaten with a win with. And so it's very confusing because all the signaling coming into this game was that they intend to tank. You even saw on the injury report, Jakob Poeltl getting a night off for rest, RJ Barrett getting a night off for rest. This is despite the fact that the team has been coming off of 2 days off at home, right? Because they played Tuesday in Orlando, so Wednesday, Thursday. I know they had a team event, but ultimately that's a little charity gala. They've had 2 days off, and then you have even more rest intentionally by holding on RJ and Jakob, who have been pretty vital to the Raptors of late. And then they go into this game, they have a prime opportunity really to continue squandering their lead, and then they put in their main guys and they win it. So I'm just very confused. Are the Raptors actually trying to tank or not? Because tonight it looked like the Raptors were like, okay, the win's there, well, let's go ahead and take it. Versus the last couple of games, they have been looking at it like, well, the loss is there, let's go ahead and take that. And pretty confusing. As for the actual game itself, I would say that IQ, it was great to see him ball out. Again, we know the competition is not strong. Utah is, a 15-win team, and they're 7-24 on the road. So this is not a surprise that they would lose. But I still got to give full props to IQ, who was by far the best player in this game. 34 points for Immanuel Quickley in only 29 minutes played. Knocked down 6 threes, 10 of 20 from the field, perfect 8 of 8 from the foul line. Started the game, I thought he really established himself getting downhill, drew some key fouls against Utah's bigs, who were the primary way that they were hurting the Raptors, especially guys like Walker Kessler, who had 18 points and 25 rebounds, which is already pretty impressive. But if you consider the fact that he had 18 of those rebounds in the first half alone, it was kind of going crazy. And then for Kyle Filipowski had a stretch there where he was really torching the Raps too. But yeah, I mean, IQ again was clear cut the best player in the game. When he reinserted himself into the game, immediately knocked them 2 threes in to reestablish the lead, and it was just great to see him, pretty much have everything going. The floater going to the basket, the quick drives with getting a step on his man, getting an angle to drive and take it strong. You saw him, just continuously get downhill against Utah, who were also then worried about his three-point shot because he did take 13 threes, and I like the way Quickley was able to hunt for his threes. He was getting open off the ball. He was getting open on the ball in terms of seeking out mismatches against bigs. He just did a really great job. And again, the competition is what it is, but he played a nearly flawless game for me and established himself, in a tremendous way. I think the one thing that besides the tanking element, the development aspect is the Raptors do want to see Scottie Barnes and Immanuel Quickley on the court together, establishing some chemistry moving forward because they have committed in heavy parts to both of these guys. You think back to 8 months ago when you had Scottie and IQ announced in that press conference. Scottie had signed the extension to his contract, and Immanuel Quickley had re-signed a new deal, and they had committed between the two of those guys, a max deal to Scottie and a 30 million plus year contract to IQ. So you wanted to see these two essentially form as two of your key players. Unfortunately, due to injuries this season, you haven't seen them together on the court all that much. And quite frankly, even last season when they were acquired, they didn't see the court together that much. So right now, they're actually both healthy. And one thing Darko keeps mentioning is just how much he wants to see those two guys play off of each other. And they did a pretty good job. They don't have necessarily the natural chemistry. I wouldn't say it's like Steph and Draymond level of telepathically understanding where each other are. But also at the same time, you can definitely see where, when Scottie gets a screen from Quickley and it forces the defense into potentially conceding a switch with a small guard going on to Scottie and a bigger player going on to Quick, how that creates advantages for each other, how they can play for each other in transition, Quickley being the outside threat, Scottie being more of the mid-range and interior threat. You saw a lot of that sort of chemistry between those two guys. So, it's hard to judge because, again, it's just the Utah Jazz, but also at the same time, both of those guys played a pretty good game. As for Scottie, he didn't really get off to a good start offensively. It looked like he was actually quite struggling with Utah's size in the paint. It seemed like he just didn't necessarily take particularly great shots. It was a lot of contested stuff, and so he wasn't making them. But when he started playing faster, when he started playing more in space, when he started playing more in transition in the second half, I thought he kind of got to whatever he wanted. Yeah, he didn't get the threes to drop. That continues to be the biggest issue with Scottie right now, is just that the threes are not falling for him whatsoever. He went 0 for 3 tonight in the game, and even in warmups, I thought he really struggled to get any kind of consistency on his three. But when he was going downhill, he was really, doing damage. He also obviously got the mid-range game going a little bit. He didn't overdo it on the mid-range, but, a little baseline out of bounds play where they got him open for a mid-range jumper. He knocked that down, a turnaround jumper over smaller defenders. One of the things with Utah is they just don't have big wings to throw at a guy like Scottie. All their big wings, it feels like, are hurt. And so, he was able to shoot over the top of a guy like KJ Martin, who is 6'4", right? So Scottie is 6'8" with long arms, can definitely shoot over the top. And then he really established himself, over the balance of the game in terms of the physicality. Utah, I thought, dominated the boards in the first half, but the Raptors ultimately end up actually snagging more offensive rebounds than Utah did. The Raptors had 22, Utah had 19. Scottie had 7 of those himself. He also set up, for 6 assists. He also had 2 steals, 3 blocks. He was just kind of like a dominant force in this game. And I think once he overcame the slow scoring start, he really started to just do whatever he wanted. He had probably had the play of the game where he had an up fake, a guy flew by him, and then he drove all the way downhill for a huge dunk along the baseline. Great reaction by Jamison Battle. But yeah, as you would expect, Scottie and IQ really, really played well against a Utah Jazz team that had nothing for him. Other than that, I mean, the only thing really to report is just that Jacoby Walter left this game. Apparently, he had a quad strain, so hopefully he's able to play, because one of the things is just, number one, like, you want to see your young guys get as many minutes as possible down the stretch here. We know that the Raptors do not actually intend to go for this play-in. We know that their number one priority is to get development on their players, and number two, get as most lottery balls. And so, therefore, you wanted to see Jacoby get more playing time. And Jacoby has been obviously in the spotlight recently because he hit that game-winning three. But he's also just been playing much more consistent, especially post-All-Star, where he's got, this run here where he's been getting consistent minutes. He's been playing at a pretty steady level. Tonight, I thought he played really well. He was probably the Raptors' best player in the first half. He had 12 points, I think, in the first half. He had 14 points overall in 18 minutes. Unfortunately, he left the game with the quad strain, so we'll see if that actually adds him to the injury report for, an extended period of time. The Raptors already have quite a few people on that injury report as is. I mean, like, you only saw basically half the team tonight. And but still, Jacoby played really well, and I liked his patience. I thought he was able to draw fouls. He was confident. He knocked down a three in the first possession of the game. Played some pretty good defense. It's just what Jacoby has done all season, and I think his composure continues to be the most impressive thing about him. A lot of rookies rush. He does not rush, and he plays at his own pace. He knows how to. He's not too eager to score, even though he is a scorer. He knows how to throw those up fakes, and I mean, I'm just really excited. Like, one of these days, like, basically Jacoby is like one of the main reasons I want to watch the Raptors, is to sort of see his continued growth, and hopefully he's able to stay in there and play. Otherwise, the Raptors kind of just brought in a lot of guys who, are getting a shot here. Jared Rhoden. 14 points off the bench, got to the foul line a bunch. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Ochai in the sense that, athletic guard, doesn't necessarily create that much for himself, but can catch and shoot from three, and plays athletic in the open floor and on cuts. I thought he played brave, got to the basket a lot, and that's how he got himself so many foul trips. Colin Castleton, who has joined the Raptors on a 10-day, he was out there making connective passes, 5 assists for him. Unfortunately, fouled out with 6 fouls, and it seemed like both him and Orlando Robinson really struggled to contain Utah's bigs, who Walker Kessler was just physically dominant, and then Kyle Filipowski was a little bit less physically dominant, but definitely more skilled in terms of being able to knock down the three and then also drive to the rim. So they struggled on that front, but, I guess they have joined the mix here as well. AJ Lawson got his first career start, which is really cool, especially considering that he's from Brampton. So this is cool for him to get the start here. Could get the threes to drop. I thought he took decent threes. Like, they weren't bad threes, but he went 1 for 9 from 3, which is kind of what tanked his night. But overall, still played a decent impact. And then even guys like Garrett Temple got in the game. Shouts to Garrett. It's always great seeing Garrett go out there and compete. But I think Garrett getting the minutes was largely a product of just the fact that Jacoby had left the game with injury, and so that created a window where somebody had to fill those minutes. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't even know. I mean, the Raptors, I suppose, were trying to tank this one. They could not tank it right, and now we're all just very, very confused as to why they're leaning in this direction to tank. But then when they had a chance to again secure the loss in this one, because the Raptors were losing momentum, Utah was getting their way and cutting into the lead. And then all of a sudden, they put in Scottie and IQ late, and those guys closed it out for the Raps. So that's kind of how we got to this place where the Raptors win 118-109. Beyond that, I don't know. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think the Raptors are doing? Because, this game was a sharp contrast to the last game. Last game, you could see multiple signs that the Raptors were trying to lose. And then this game, you saw some signs when they were trying to lose, because they did rest RJ, they did rest Jakob, but then ultimately when they had a chance to continue blowing in the fourth quarter, that's when they put in their main guys. So I'm a little confused, quite frankly, and I'd love to hear from you. We're going to bring in producer, co-host Alex Wong here. Alex, I know you have a mandate. You want to watch Lakers Celtics later on tonight. Is that at 10 or 10:30?
That's tomorrow, bro. That was my mandate for tomorrow.
Oh, that's your mandate for tomorrow. Oh, okay. We're good.
So we're good. Yeah, we're good tonight. We can chat about tanking for a full hour if you
don't want to watch Knicks Clippers?
Nah, Jalen Brunson's out. I don't have a bet on it, so we're.
You don't want to watch OG versus Kawhi? Come on, man.
My theory on the tanking is the Raptors are just terrible at tanking as an organization. They just don't have.
This is bad.
They just don't have the experience, and they don't got the guts to go all the way and be completely embarrassing about it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, because the year they were in Tampa, I thought they did kind of like tanking the right way, quote
Mhm.
unquote, which was, I mean, it was a lot of like, if you would listen to the Raps Reaction podcast back then, it was like Malachi Flynn and Jalen Harris report at the start. And then it would be like Colin, or not Colin Gillespie, Freddie Gillespie,
Mm.
down the stretch. And a lot of like Stanley Johnson and, DeAndre Bembry. Like, I think maybe the health of the franchise was just pretty bad at that time, because we just had so many guys who really couldn't play, but were getting lots of extended minutes. And they were also in Tampa, which I feel like it was easier to sort of like salvage that, because like, I mean, you just didn't actually have your fans there. Like, it was a fake season basically. Versus now, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just at home. Maybe like Scottie and IQ are like quibbling to get back in the game. They're like, look, we've been playing great, and now all of a sudden the lead that we built is fading. Maybe we got to get back in the game. I don't know, but this is
That
just confusing though.
I mean, that Utah team would have been hard to beat. I know they were coming back a bit there in the fourth quarter, but even going back to the two Orlando games, I mean, the Raptors did try their best. Like
They've been trying, yeah.
If Franz makes that layup, they go to overtime and win that first game.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Jacoby Walter doesn't make that three with his legs like pointing at different directions in the air, like they lose that game as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're not trying.
Mm-hmm.
But like I guess there are levels to it, because I did see the Brooklyn Nets double team Draymond Green last night in crunch time to leave Steph Curry open. So there's ways to do it. There's just ways to do it, and maybe part of it is you do have to go a little bit harder, like in terms of like your play calling, your strategies on the court. Like I don't know, like you got to go a little harder if you're really trying to lose, and I don't know if they're trying to do that. It doesn't seem like they're trying to do that.
Well, the funny thing is, like, at the start of the season, we had that catchphrase that everyone was using about the Raptors, which was ethical tanking, right? Like, ethical tanking
Sure.
was like, well, we're all like jumping up here, like, oh, ethical tank. They competed hard, but they lost, right? Like, the thing is, like, there is no such thing as ethical tanking. If you're gonna join in a tanking race, you are already like essentially sabotaging and throwing away the game. There's nothing ethical about that. So you might as well just, like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta actually do it. Like, this is like not even a half measure. This is just weird. Like, you had
Yeah,
a full chance to just not put them back in the game.
well, it's tough now because like so now they're only half game up on Brooklyn and Philly.
Mm.
And we know that the Raptors schedule coming up, they got the back-to-back against the Wizards.
Yeah.
And then Philly's coming in, and then they go to Utah. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's next 4 games, they're at Charlotte, they play the Lakers, they play Cleveland, and Chicago. So that's at least like 3 losses in there.
That's at least 3 losses. Yeah.
Yeah. Philadelphia's got Utah, Atlanta, Toronto, Indiana.
Oh man, Raptors Sixers is gonna be a movie, man.
Yeah, like, so there's a chance after these 4 games that the Raptors are gonna be like in 7th,
right,
in the tankathon.
Yeah.
Right now they're still 5th, but they're only half up on Brooklyn and Philly.
I feel like it's starting to get to the point where I got to check up their tiebreakers. You know what I mean? Because the Raptors have beaten Philly twice.
Right.
So it's like extra imperative that they lose these last 2 to Philadelphia, man. Yeah. If they tie in the standings, Raps will have the tiebreaker and they'd be above them, which would be below them in the odds.
I just need the season to be over, man.
Dude, this is it's so weird, man.
I hate looking at this. I hate looking at this tanking stuff, man. Like honestly, but it is really like the one ongoing storyline right now.
Well, I mean, I would love to just come on here and be like, hey, look, the Raptors, like it's great. IQ played great. Scottie, had a really great second half. Defensively was really dominant. Jacoby played well before he got hurt. Jamal Shed gave them a nice little boost in some key minutes there. But like, it's no longer about the game. When you engage in tanking, it's not about anything other than did you lose tonight?
Well, you think would the fans be happy if for the last like 19 games the Raptors just shut down all their like main guys? Like, do you think that would be a problem? Because if you're really trying to go that particular route, then you just shut the guys down for the season.
Well, okay, but here's the thing though. Like, can you actually do that? Because there's certain things that like it's hard to get other people to do, right? Like Scottie, for example.
Well,
He has
yeah,
incentives in his contract that if he can hit them, which would require him to play 65 games,
sure.
and if he plays rest, I think he only has the budget to miss 3 more games the rest of the stretch.
Yeah, so this is Adam Silver's fault again. Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? Like it's not just as simple as you go to the player and say like, "Hey, we're going to shut you down." And they say, "Yes, boss, no problem." Like
Hmm.
these are competitive players. There's certain players that have things to play for as well, you know. Like it's, you know, I mean, look, I'm not saying that it's so complicated that they can't get it done, because obviously other teams get this done no problem. Like I think it's like Utah, for example, like Lauri Markkanen is out there before the game signing autographs, and I'm like, dude.
No, but the thing is, the Raptors are doing some of that okay, because like I like how they're sneakily just like, oh, we're gonna have an update on Brandon Ingram in 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Like they're doing a good job of that because they just need to update Brandon Ingram 2 more times and the season's over,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah.
he just won't play.
No, they're gonna get Brandon Ingram ready to play April 15th when the
Yeah,
season's
yeah, yeah.
over.
Which is a great job that they're doing. But I
Mhm.
don't know, man. I don't know. Like I don't. I've never seen the Raptors in this position, and it's kind of funny seeing the way that they're kind of like handling it.
Yeah. On
But
the flip
again,
side,
it's not their fault, man. They should have lost both in Orlando.
they should have lost both
They
in
should have
Orlando.
lost both in Orlando. A little bit of that was out of their control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been weird, man. I mean, I don't know what was the chat saying, because
Chat was just having a fight about whether Scottie Barnes should be the face of the franchise for 15 minutes. Yeah.
what?
But we do have
Really? Okay.
yeah, no, we do have some tanking stuff.
Okay. All right.
Some tanking comments here if you want to go through those here.
Let's do that. It is time now for the Tangerine fan inbox, and we wanted to let you know that Tangerine is the official sponsor of the Hello and Welcome podcast, the official partner of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. Of course, not just fans of basketball, they're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans who stick around after a Utah Jazz Raptors game on a Friday night to debate the merits of tanking, and that's what we're about to do right here. And so if you're listening to this, there's no doubt in your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year, for the Raptors' 30th season, Tangerine is turning the spotlight from the court to the stands and celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. All right, Alex, who forgot that we gotta do the ad read first.
Oh yeah, my bad. My bad.
What's the first question? There we go.
First one is so here's some comments here from comments about the tanking. One person in the chat said the only explanation is Adam Silver has a secret deal with Masai to still be rewarded with a top 6 pick if they agree not to tank. Validity of this.
I mean, what are we doing here, man?
League issued memo on subtle nuance of tanking.
Okay, it's almost to the point where we got to hammer out what is the actual guidelines for tanking. Like, what are the do's and don'ts of tanking?
There ain't no do's and don'ts, man. You just got to be shameless.
So my thing is just, you know what? If you're gonna like actually intend to go into the game with tanking, then make your decisions before the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you need to hold out players for tanking, then do it. Once you're in the game, don't do the weird stuff that like, okay, you know, down the stretch we're gonna pull our key guys and put in our third stringers, even though it's a close game. Like that to me is like so obvious that it's like it's starting to sort of like, okay, look, I can understand if you show up to a situation and it is what it is, and then you roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you can't just like show up the situation, see like, oh man, we're actually doing well tonight, let's pull our guys. Like that's probably messier to explain on both the player side and on the coaching side, because I feel like the people with the hardest job right now is the coaching staff. Like, how are you going to tell everybody all season that you got to play hard, we're going to establish our culture, this is the thing, we're going to play hard, everything matters because you got to play hard, and then at the end they're like, just kidding, you played hard but we're going to pull you because you played too hard and you got us close to winning. Like, it's just weird, man.
No, I get you, man. So the question here is, what can the NBA Raptors do to protect product quality when teams are incentivized to tank? So I have a solution. I have a solution for this.
Let's hear it.
So after the All-Star break, you use the All-Star break as a cutoff, right? The bottom 8 teams are automatically disqualified from the playoffs. Okay. Like I don't care. I don't care how close you are. Like you guys have to, like, the bottom 8 teams get to like opt out of the playoffs. Like they're not going to make the playoffs. Like you're terrible. So in this scenario, we would have Washington, Charlotte, Utah, New Orleans, Toronto, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, and let's just say Chicago in this case, even though they're in the play. So anytime those teams play each other, you have to win to earn points to get lottery balls. Whereas if those teams play other teams, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. So basically, these teams have to fight each other to win games to get lottery balls.
Brother.
You don't think Adam Silver's gonna say yes to this? I bet you Adam Silver would love this idea.
What if we had
This is the play out tournament. Yeah.
Yes, I like the play out tournament.
This is the play out tournament.
Yeah.
And this is the way for teams to actually, you have to win games against other bad teams to get lottery balls. This is the only way to fix tanking. Like, imagine if tonight,
it's starting to get silly, man. It's starting to get silly.
But imagine if tonight's game, Toronto versus Utah, was for like 35 lottery combinations.
Yeah.
How big, how big a game that would have been? Such a fun game to watch.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't have to have seen Colin Castleton, aka the Fortress. Yeah.
Bro, that man has a long neck, man. That's a Canadian goose right there, man. His neck, I feel he's 6'10", but he looks like a 6'5" guy, but with like 5 extra inches in the neck. No, you know what? I think they should like make this like Squid Game, man. They should, how like Squid Game they had the big piggy bank with the cash above them to remind them of their incentives. They should just have the lottery balls like drop into the piggy bank.
No, but my other rule is just that like if you're under 500, like you should automatically be cut off from making the playoffs. Like the play-in should not include. Like if you're an under 500 team, then there's just no play-in teams. Like if there's only like 10 teams, if there's only 8 teams over 500, there should be no 9th or 10th seed.
But they sold those guaranteed TV dates, so they can't exactly go away from it. You know what I mean? It's like when we go to Tangerine, we're like, yo, we got all the rag pods coming up. I can't just be like, yo, just kidding, I didn't do this one.
No,
the Raps are terrible. You know what I mean?
I think they got to fix this mediocrity problem because the play-in has opened up too much. Like, there's no way the Raptors should still be within like 4 games of a play-in spot right now.
Yo, dude, we're like, 21 and 42 with a chance to go to the play-in.
Like if the Raptors just reactivated Brandon Ingram tomorrow, I would bet on them to make the play.
Hey, I was watching.
If they went full force. Yeah.
I was watching BI practice yesterday, man. He was looking good.
I just think there has to be some kind of like tournament or like wins incentive towards the end of the season, so teams don't have to do all this dance like game to game.
No, this is it is. I do agree with you. It is kind of a farce, man. Like it just is.
Yeah.
Like this the whole thing down the stretch is just silly. It really is. I feel like honestly, it's almost to the point where I'm like, why are we even remotely incentivizing teams to be bad for this long? Like, just make the draft flat.
Yeah, but
everyone has the same odds, and
but that'd be tough when the Lakers start getting first overall picks for like 4 years in a row.
I don't know. I mean, the Lakers just got Luka Doncic, and I think it has made a lot of people watch more basketball. So
that's Nico Harrison's fault.
No, it is. But I'm just saying that, like, it to me, it's like it's a bigger discredit to the NBA that like some teams legit go into the season and say this whole season is forfeit because we would rather lose 70 games for a chance at getting 14% chance at winning the lottery of number 1 pick. We'd rather do that. Like the 14% chance at a number 1 overall pick is worth more than losing 70 games.
Yeah, because that one draft pick could potentially set your franchise for like a whole decade.
Yeah, but we have teams doing this year after year, man. Like,
yeah,
dude, you had do. Like, like look at Orlando. Like they got to be mad frustrated that like they did tanking correctly. They got their pieces, and they're still mid.
No, you got teams like Charlotte. Like, how many times has Charlotte ended up with like the number 1 pick? Right,
LaMelo, 2nd overall pick. Brandon Miller, 2nd overall pick. Like they miss out on Wemby, even though they had the worst record. It's like, oh, he goes to San Antonio. Now you got Brandon Miller. Enjoy that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, you just have year over year that like teams are just this bad, and then you put, in addition to the teams being bad, you have like teams putting fans in the situation where they're fighting each other over whether or not they should win or not. Like it's just kind of stupid.
I mean, that part of it is pretty funny.
No, it's just kind of stupid. Like number 1 debate for the Raptors right now is should they win or should they lose? Honestly, more people are in favor of losing, right? Again, we know the organization wants them. Would prefer again if they would lose some of these. Yeah, but they continue to fight because so like you end up having like multiple incentives here for the players. The incentive is always to win and play well. No player ever wants to play bad.
Yeah, another suggestion, what if they weigh the record of teams from the previous 3 years and that factors into your odds, and then that would deter teams from trying to like bottom out and stuff. I mean
Mm,
that's a
yeah.
decent. It's just hard to find like a right solution to this. You're right. Like I don't know, man. It's
Yeah, I honestly like I would rather just like at this point I'd rather just flatten out the odds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been suggested like you can do the wheel and stuff. Like every like 5 years, certain teams get a chance at like the top 5 picks or whatever. Man, we should be glad that the pick in the Jakob Poeltl deal got conveyed to the Spurs, because I feel like it'd be super stressful if that was still a thing that was happening this season.
Oh, yeah, well,
If that was happening right now and the Raptors were like half-ass tanking and potentially was gonna lose their pick.
yeah. Well, even so, the Raptors tanked all of like the second half of last season. Well, not even tanked, but like last year at least I understood because like Scottie broke his finger. You know, he legit had to like get a surgery on his hand, right? There's still a huge scar on his hand from that.
Yeah.
You know, IQ and RJ both had, you know, deaths in the family. You had Jakob getting injured. So like there was no other thing to do other than just tank. They didn't have quality depth either. I think that's one other thing is the Raptors actually did well in last year's draft, and now that's hurting them this year because guys like Jamal Shed and Jacoby Walter are actually contributing to winning in a year they want to lose, but they're getting punished, quote unquote, because they actually drafted well last year, which is the point of the lottery in the first place, or the point of the draft is to improve bad teams, which is what the Raptors did. And now, surprise, they're now too good to actually lose some of these games towards the end. It's just, again, it's just, to me, it's just like that. It's just silly. But imagine even if we did what the Raptors did last season, we keep the pick instead. We have like Rob Dillingham on the team now. It's like, does that change anything for the Raptors? Like, no, not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
I guess 19 more games of this type of chat.
19 more debates over is it ethical to tank and what is not ethical. I'm just saying, if you want to tank, you're playing at a dirty game, so just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Like, you just got to throw respectability out the window. Like, if that's your goal, then that's your goal.
yeah,
Like, just and have the hard conversations. Like, yo, you go to Scottie and be like, yo, listen, whether you play 65 games or not, you're not hitting no incentives on your contract. You're not getting no All NBA team. You're not getting a Defensive Player of the Year. Whatever other triggers that could potentially give you a supermax. That's not happening this year. Okay, you're out. IQ, it's great. Congratulations, you came back to play. We're gonna rule you out again. You know what I mean? And you know what? If you want to complain, you have 4 more years in your contract at $32 million a year, which we just signed you to. You know, RJ, a little tougher because he doesn't have new money on his deal, but also at the same time, it's like, dude, you're under contract for 2 more years. We're gonna have to hold you out. Jakob, it seems like you'll do anything we say anyway. So that's an easy combo.
Jakob's the most loyal soldier since Bodie from the Wire.
Yo, Jakob legit like Bodie from the Wire, man. He's like, I'm not moving off this corner, man. It's my corner, man. No, I need Masai to move like Marlo. You know what I mean? Like, just come in here, man. I need him to have a conversation. He sits the players in, and he's like, you want it to be one way, but it's the other way. You know what I mean? Walk out of there with a lollipop, man.
Chad said Jakob is a company man.
Yo, Jakob is the definition of a company man. Shouts to Jakob.
I love this other question. I don't know why. It's just, why Dallas ruined their team? So we're watching. I mean, I think all of us basketball fans were watching like Lakers Knicks last night.
Yeah.
And like, well, soon Jalen Brunson, but just watching like Jalen Brunson and Luka, 2 former Mavs, just going at it. Like, man, Mavs fans got to quit basketball, man. I don't know what else to say.
It's crazy because their team was gonna be really good this year. Like, they had just made the finals. I cannot stress how much that they had just made the finals. You know, and this is nuts. Like, it's crazy because like freakish things are happening to them. Like, Omax Prosper has now
I'm not even trying to laugh. Now he's out for the season. Yeah.
No, but it's like, you know, like, dude, what? So people are even rolling this into like the whole like, you know, like sometimes you just become like the it team in terms of like bad stuff is happening to you. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like for a while there, like Russell Westbrook was like the it person of like everything bad was happening to Russell Westbrook.
Right.
And things would just keep spiraling like that. Like, now it's just the Dallas Mavericks, man. Yo, by the time the Raptors play the Mavs, I mean, by the way, the Mavs were one of the only 3 remaining teams on this schedule where the Raptors are going to play an above 500 team.
Yeah.
by the time we play the Mavs, they're going to be below 500. So the Raptors really only have 2 more teams that are above 500, man.
Yeah, Mavs might not win another game this season, man. Like I don't even know right now. Like they're probably trying to tank a little bit too. But
But
I don't know if
they'll
you.
probably play some of these tanking teams, then it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I don't know
Like,
if
look how
you.
bad Utah was, man. The Utah Jazz, this is the thing. I was actually counting for the first shift, right? Before the Raptors, or before I guess the first TV timeout was called with 5 minutes into the game. The Utah Jazz had like 6 turnovers on their first 9 possessions. How are you supposed to compete with that?
Yo, also, how many rebounds did Walker Kessler get tonight?
25, I think.
Yeah, because the other record they don't really talk about that'll never get broken is Wilt Chamberlain's 55 rebounds
Oh my
in
god.
a single game. Can you think of any modern day big man that could break that record?
Okay, mathematically, how is that even possible? The Raptors had 48 rebounds tonight as a team.
Yeah, there's like not even enough possessions.
No, but like seriously, what happened in basketball that time? You know what I mean? Like, no, but seriously, like the ball can just bounce in the opposite way. Like, how did he have 55?
No, legit though, I'm starting to think, and I don't think this is talked about enough. 55 rebounds is a harder record to break than 100 points. Because I truly believe someone will break 100 points one day. Like I
Okay.
think that's pretty doable.
What do you mean
Like,
pretty? Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's doable in like kind of modern day NBA. Like we just saw a bunch of guys hit 70 like last year before Joe Dumars told all the refs to start calling fouls again. But like 55 rebounds is arguably harder than 100 points. Is my
55 is
opinion.
impossible. Like, no, again, just mathematically, how are you getting 55 rebounds?
55 boards, 55 burgers, 55 fries.
Yo, every Wilt stat sounds fake, man.
Yo, how did Wilt get a 55 burger but rebound?
Yo, Wilt's always every stat with Wilt's wild. It's like 100 points. He averaged 50 for a season, 55 rebounds in one game. This guy said he slept with 20,000 women in his life. I'm like, bro.
Have you heard the story how like there was one season he was so bored that he just decided to lead the league in assists, and he did.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They're like, yo, Will can like jump up to the top of the backboard and like he changed $2 for like, into quarters or whatever. And I'm like, bro, every story about Wilt is crazy.
I keep seeing new footage of him. The other day I saw black and white footage of him like yelling at Bill Russell. Like they were about to fight.
Yeah. No, they got footage of Wilt do everything except for the 100 or the 55 rebounds, man.
I need to see the 55 rebounds. Like I guarantee he had to be tipping it to himself type. And
No. He must have had like 30 offensive rebounds.
And whose track, like I bet you the scorekeeping could not have been that legitimate back then. Like I'm saying, like there's not like nowadays it's like you can go back and watch the film and be like, yo, the scorekeeper gave this guy like too many assists and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like back then the scorekeeper was just like, yeah, that's 8 offensive rebounds.
Yo, he just tipped it like he just tipped it like 5 times.
Yeah, I'm on record. 55 rebounds is the hardest record to break in all of sports.
55 is pretty tough, man. Although they threw up the stat yesterday because we were watching Lakers Knicks at the end of it. We were watching Inside the NBA. And they threw up the stats of like what are the truly unbreakable records, right? Because I think they randomly, by the way, Inside the NBA was just like, hey, by the way, we have hockey. And so here's this interview that we did with Alex Ovechkin because Ovechkin's catching up on Gretzky's record for goals, right?
Right.
And so they were like, what are the truly unbreakable records? The wildest ones to me is still Cy Young has like 750 complete games or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those are going to be impossible too.
Bro, 750 complete games, man. In an era where people pull people after 5 innings because like they've hit their pitch load or whatever. It's crazy.
No, that's actually insane.
Yeah.
But
also Broad having over 50,000 points career-wise is pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you need a player to play like 20 plus seasons.
Bro, look at this. Yeah, that's a good point for this. Will average 49 minutes a game one season.
Wait. Hold on. How's that even possible?
He played overtimes.
No, but so he would have just played every game. Every minute.
He never fouled out. Not even once.
Forget about the fouling out. Even just like the stamina of it.
Yeah.
Like he's a big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what?
So he played for Tibbs.
No,
Uh,
the 55 rebounds is actually messing me up when I heard that on the broadcast tonight. So
yeah.
like that's actually crazier. Oh, unrelated. Saw Alex in the new latest Open Gym episode. Oh, thanks,
Hey,
man. Which what are they talking about? Can you tell me what episode that
the
was?
latest episode was about All Star Weekend. And
Oh,
so
nice.
they had you giving some generic quotes about the 2000 slam dunk contest.
I am the generic quote guy for this year's Open Gym.
I'm not gonna lie, none of your quotes going viral, man.
No, none of them is hitting a quote graphic or nothing, man. That's why it's perfect for Open Gym. It's
No,
perfectly down the middle and just bland. Yeah.
yeah, you're given the type of
Yeah.
interviews that like who's like the worst guys to interview, man, on the
Oh
team over
man,
the
don't
years.
don't slander anybody.
Who gave like no who gave nothing in interviews?
Yeah, who's the nothing
Yeah,
burger?
honestly, IQ a bit of a nothing burger.
Yeah, I actually don't remember a
It's hard to
single.
imagine one IQ quote. No,
I
no
don't
offense to
remember.
IQ, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't remember a single IQ quote to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but it's always you're always like the 2000 slam dunk contest was won by Vince Carter, who had
Yo, I'm like Magic Johnson up in this. It's like, man, as a kid, that was one of the greatest memories for Raptors fans.
and then they just pivot to the highlights.
Oh man, shouts to the Open Gym crew.
What else, man?
Those were really all the questions, man. Unless you have any other ones you wanna
Let's see here. What else do I
check
have
out here,
here?
man.
Um,
Trying to conserve our energy. We got a back to back, you know.
this I like this one from Sahil. As Logan Roy would say, these are not serious people. I mean, it's a little unserious tonight. I'm not gonna lie to you. This was a bit weird. This one I actually wanted to bring up because
So
I thought this is kind of interesting. So this one from Kitsune, which said, media can't be complaining that they didn't tank this game while all the talk and questions last game were about Darko playing G Leaguers to close out the game. And I guess my question is like, what is the media's responsibility to cover tanking? Because I feel like this is probably also a bit of a new territory for us. Because I was down at practice yesterday, and obviously a lot of the questions directed to Darko, RJ, and Scottie, who are the three people who spoke, were all about tanking, right? Like the majority of the questions. If you go to like the Raptors post game or Raptors YouTube channel, you'll find the interviews. And you can see the scrums. Like the majority of the questions were about tanking. Obviously, asked in a roundabout way. No one's just gonna roll up and be like, "Hey, are you tanking? Yes or no?" Right? No one's gonna even say the word. But then they'll ask questions that are related to it, like, "Hey, RJ, are you cool with not being on the floor in crunch time?" Like what do you feel about getting pulled from the game late in the game? Or like, do you, Scotty, you haven't played a lot in the fourth quarter, like how does that feel? You know what I mean? Like there's questions like that to that extent. And I think that like the one thing that's pretty consistent was just how much media training that these guys were receiving when
yeah,
we're stepping to the podium, because it's not a coincidence at all that all three guys mentioned we're trying to look for the long term, we're trying to build for a championship, right? Like all three guys use the exact same term, which is how you know for sure that they all were briefed by the PR staff. Like, hey, when they ask you about this question, you are going to give this response.
right.
And so like that was the response was, that we are building for a championship long term. But I don't know, like what do you actually think the media should be doing in a situation where like I said I felt to me like everyone was just trying to get like a good quote about basically admitting that they were tanking and hoping
Yeah,
someone would
I
slip.
mean,
But I'm also like, but at the same time, like we all kind of know what's happening here.
yeah, I don't think I need to do like a song and dance to try to like expose anybody. Like I think both sides, media and the team and the players all know what this is.
Mm,
And like anytime you ask the players on like any team that's tanking, they're gonna say those things. Like I saw the quotes, like all the players were just like, yeah, we have a lot of guys on this team that we trust and we want to develop them and all this stuff, right? So
right.
yeah, like I don't know if I don't think the media has any responsibility. It's like to like try to like get the team to admit anything.
Well, I mean, that's
It's
the thing. I didn't actually see like necessarily an upside in sort of getting it vocalized. Although at the same time, I could hear the complete opposite, which is like the media's job is not to like sort of carry water for the organization. The media's job is try to get to the root of the real story, right? And in that
sure,
sense,
sure.
like a quote where they would say something like, "Yes, basically, we're not trying to win," is like getting closer to the real story, which is exactly what they're trying to do here. Um, But I mean, also at the same time, I feel bad for both the players and Darko because they're not the ones that should necessarily have to answer for this every time because the decision doesn't come from them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if the decision came from them, then that's different. Then they're the ones that you can ask them about sort of like, why are you doing this, right? But like it's from management. But management hasn't been on record saying anything. Well, I mean that's not true actually. Even like Bobby, who's
No,
spoke at
Bobby
the trade
said.
deadline.
Didn't Bobby say you got to pray to the lottery gods? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Well, I mean he said that on multiple interviews, and so I guess he can't outright say it because if he outright says it, he gets fined. But
Yeah,
I
even
think
though Sean Marks did that with the Nets and didn't get fined.
okay,
Yeah.
there you go. But I mean, still, I think we all understood like what he meant by that, or we should
Yeah.
have. And I think honestly, if we're gonna be real about it, it's not like we don't talk to the front office. You know what I mean? Like media and the front office interact like a decent amount.
Yeah, I need a break from tanking talk, man. What else you got?
Okay. This one, what's the point in asking questions they can't legitimately answer? This is more journalism talk, I guess.
Well, that's kind of like me. It's like I get you got to ask the questions, but you already know the answers you're gonna get to this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's not like Darko is gonna be like, yeah, well, we weren't really trying to win.
I guess that's what the hope was that like he would say that.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
I don't know, man.
That's kind of my thing. It's like you can ask the questions, but I
Yeah.
think most people already know. Like you already know the answers that you're gonna get, and like you
Right.
mentioned, the players are coached well, like for that, right? So
No, you can actually see the media, like PR staff, like grab the player across the
Yeah.
gym, give them a little pep talk, and then they jump in there and they give the
Yeah.
one-liner.
Did you know
It's,
Wilt's highest scoring average in a single season?
Yeah, it's 50.
50.4 points per game. Oh, you know what? I've been underestimating Will because I've been stuck on that 100-point thing, but like his
Yeah.
other records are ridiculous. man.
Isn't the 100-point from that season when he averaged
I think so.
50?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Most consecutive field goals, 18 in a row. That's also a record.
Damn.
Yeah.
That I believe for sure.
Yeah, that's
'Cause-
definitely 18 straight dunks. Like
Yeah.
like he was just chilling.
No, I mean, like, Wilt was exceptional. There's no doubt. That's the thing. Wilt was exceptional. But the thing is, statistically, when you compare, like, what Wilt was doing versus all the other players who were also exceptional, it's
Yeah.
just so far and beyond.
No, like Will has 32 career 60-point games, and
Okay.
Kobe is second with 6.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, right? You can't tell
Like-
me the rest of the NBA was not, like, amazing. But it's just
Yeah.
crazy how the degree to which Wilt's, like, statistical domination was there.
118 50-point games.
Mhm.
Jordan is second with 31.
Yeah.
Like that's like, damn man,
No, it's pretty
this
incredible,
man's
man.
gonna be a legend forever, man.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure.
Man.
Also, that man was great in interviews. Have you ever heard Wilt talk?
Yeah,
Like
Wilt's a legend.
Wilt's very, very like media savvy and also just entertaining in general.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Will had incredible riz as well. I honestly I think there's this one from Luca. Media should be focused on the development of these last 20 games. What are they working on? Pull stories that matter. The tanking isn't even their fault. This is all from above, more of a league issue. Honestly, I don't even mind this because I'm so bored by the tanking conversation after we have it. It's just kind of like, what else can you actually talk about? You know what I mean? And so I feel like even for me yesterday at the scrum, like I didn't ask any of the questions about the tanking because like we all know what's going on. So like I didn't necessarily want to ask more questions about it. So I kind of just asked them about one-on-one because they were all playing one-on-one off to the side.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wait, how long have you guys been playing one-on-one? Who's the best one-on-one player, et cetera, et cetera? Why do you guys play one-on-one? So it kind of steer the conversation in that direction a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, like I guess that is like I guess if they're not going to say anything about it and there's no real incentive for them to say anything about it, then we might as well tell their stories, you know?
Yeah, well, it's just getting to the point of the season where there really is not a lot of storylines going on, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Like,
And then
it
the
just
last thing about the
is what
tanking
it
is just this one from Donkey. I think the media should try to educate viewers on probability and the actual difference between 5, 6, and 7 instead of just losing good, winning bad. We hear also very little about the importance of reps. I mean, I think the reps it's a fair argument. Like the Raptors are really trying to hone in on development. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to develop and they're trying to lose.
Right.
And I would say they're prioritizing the development portion over the losing portion, but they are trying to prioritize those two over the rest of the stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, like the differences aren't that big. I mean, that does sound like at this point I'm just rationalizing. You know what I mean? But yeah, different. So Raptors have been in 5 basically in the reverse standings this whole time. That gives them a 10.5 chance at the number 1 overall pick. That gives him a 42% chance to jump into the top 4, which will be sort of like there's variations of winning the lottery, but you could just jump in to the top four. The
Yeah.
Raptors have a 42% chance of that. If they drop to 6, they have an 8.3% chance of the number 1 overall pick and a 35% chance of the 4th overall jump into the top 4. So it's actually a significant difference, but not so significant that, like, every time you lose, it's like the sky is falling. But I don't know, man. You're right. It's just tanking conversations.
Yeah, we're banning tanking for one night tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna avoid any mentions of tanking tomorrow.
Yeah. And then people were crashing about Scottie. Like, man.
Yeah, we're good though. You can head to the awards now. Yeah.
What are people? Why? I don't so understand. Why are we crashing over Scottie over something like this? Like,
I don't know.
It just doesn't necessarily. I'm not even trying to, like. I think for me, it's like, it's weird because I've never necessarily looked at Scottie like he's going to be like a future, LeBron, top 5 level player. And so, like, every time I watch him, I'm not disappointed constantly that he's not like Luka.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think the more, especially this season, it's like you have to adapt your expectations as you go. If he shows you more to be optimistic, then you raise your expectations, and then if he shows you less, then you lower your expectations. Like, that's just kind of how life is, right? Like, that's just, you can't necessarily expect that, like, every day that it's going to be 25 degrees outside, and then you walk outside and you're in Canada. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. And I feel like with Scottie, it's just like this season they've given him like a pretty clear runway to do whatever he wants offensively, try out things, but like also just set up a situation where you're the clear-cut leader. Everyone's going to back you in every single scenario. What are you going to lead them with? And I think that he's done a great job of leading them with defense. His intensity on defensive end is really good. He still does relatively the same things on offense. He's mixed in the mid-range shot, which is cool, but it's sort of like a situation where he uses it marginally. And then he doesn't necessarily have the ability to take over games as often as you would like, but that's a lot of players. I think that's probably why they went out to get Brandon Ingram, because I think they're kind of looked at it like Scottie's best role is when he's on a team when he could set up a lot of other scores. And their scores are IQ from the outside, RJ going to the rim, and Brandon Ingram from all 3 levels. And Scottie can kind of be that sort of point guard in that sort of situation. So, like, I don't, I just don't see the need to crash out over, like, if he has a bad game. And again, tonight he had a bad first half in terms of he couldn't really dominate. But he actually ended the game perfectly fine. Like 22 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, plus 18 in 32 minutes. Like, well, it's not a reason to crash out over. That's not a bad game, nor is it a great game. You know what I mean? So
Agreed.
I don't know. This is weird. This has been a weird season all around. So I guess we do have another game again tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. So
Yep.
it's
You can wrap it up now.
all right. Well, there's nothing else to say. Your 3 stars from tonight's performance. Obviously, IQ's gonna get the first star. 34, 5 and 5 for IQ. Super aggressive with the offense. I think, did I see that he's already getting rested for tomorrow? Is that what's happening? Oh yeah, so Quickley's out tomorrow. So I guess he just got all his scoring out the way tonight. But yeah, seriously, he was very impactful tonight, and especially when he came back into the 4th quarter, knocked down those 2 threes immediately gave the Raptors that breathing room to secure the win that, quite frankly, nobody wanted. Your second star. Honestly, your second star, Scottie, man. Scottie had a really impactful game. I don't know what else to say. 22, 12, 6, 2, and 2. Yeah, he couldn't hit the 3. Yes, he shot pretty poorly from the field, 8 of 19 overall. He had a slow start to the game offensively, but got himself to the foul line a lot, got 7 offensive rebounds, physically dominated, made a bunch of stops. Kind of what he's been doing all season. So, that's just kind of how it is for Scottie these days. And then your third star is Jacoby Walter. Walter had 14 points in 18 minutes before leaving the game with a quad injury. Hopefully that's not serious. But he also had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. I just like his composure in the game. In a game that on the Jazz side, they have a lot of rookies. They have a lot of second-year players. Jacoby looked really poised, and it kind of stood out for me. So I think that's kind of what you want to see continuously is just your young players playing well. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, that's obviously going to be Walker Kessler, who had 18 rebounds in the first half. Pretty crazy. He finished with 18 points and 25 rebounds and 8 blocks. I mean, some of that comes from having to play against Orlando Robinson, who really could not find a way to score over him, or Colin Castleton. But overall, Walker Kessler, was able to patrol the paint. The Raptors did string him out on isolations. I thought Walter got by him with one-on-one, which was really nice to see, actually. Walter recognizing that he had his mismatch against a big and then taking advantage, driving Waller to the rim, which was really good. IQ certainly got Kessler quite a bit as well on isolations, but still, for a young big, that's pretty impressive. 18, 25, and 8 blocks. That's outrageous. So that's kind of it for us tonight. Actually, Alex, I'm going to bring you back in for the last time here. I know you're kicking yourself. You're like, what is it now, man?
No, man. Love hanging out, man. What's good, man?
Okay, so I did load this up, but the Raptors, so they did the second of 3 decade nights for the Raptors this season. They had 90s night, tonight was 2000s night, and I think they're going to have a 2010s night.
Nice.
But this graphic was something that like shook me to the core, and this was shown right here. Raptors born before 2000.
Holy shit, man. I'm older than Garrett Temple.
Garrett Temple,
First of all.
1986.
First of all, I'm 2 years older than Garrett.
Yeah, we call you George Orwell because you were born in 1984.
Yo, that's crazy, man.
Okay.
Holy.
Chris Boucher in
Big brother.
1993. Jakob Pertl in 1995 and Immanuel Quickley in 1999. And I want to bring this up because there was a moment where Savannah was introducing this graphic.
Yeah.
And the way she presented it, she said, she's like, we were talking to Garrett and we were asking him what it was like, what the early 2000s were like. And I'm like, damn, Savannah, you're killing me, man.
Yo, that's actually
interview somebody about what the early 2000s were like.
No, my favorite thing about
to my core,
my
man.
favorite thing about Garrett Templeton is at one point I feel like he got the ball and he was trying to like go up in the paint and he saw Walker Kessler. And I think he just like realized he physically was not able to do it. And just like nothing happened from the play.
Garrett Temple's like, I got a newborn at home. Man, I've just been changing diapers. Why am I in the game right now?
He's like, I'm part of the Players Association. I got to negotiate a third apron coming up soon. Like, I'm not risking my life over this, man. Holy damn.
No, man, this is crazy. I honestly, it's starting to get to the point now where like the majority of the Raptors are younger than me. That was not the case when I first came in the game. And I suppose this is just how time works. The reporters get older, but the players are roughly the same age. But, like, it's tough, man. I used to be like, oh, I could relate to this guy. I could relate to Fred. I can relate to Pascal. We're the same age. And now I'm like, I can relate to, like, Jakob and Chris, but...
No, I'm telling
the rest of these guys, I don't know, man.
No, it's tough, man. I remember I was doing my story on Scottie. I'm like, this guy's half my age, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy when you think about the guys coming in now. And it's like, you really just don't relate to them on, like, just like a lifestyle type.
Right. You're just like, what do you mean when you say W's in the chat? I was watching your Twitch and you said W's in the chat. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've told this story before. It's like when OG was here in his rookie season, like he was asking me like places to go shop and stuff because like I think I was just wearing some streetwear and like he was trying to get some streetwear. And then he asked me how old I was, and I think at the time I was like 35 or something like that.
Right.
How many years?
A totally reasonable young age.
And then I think he looked at me
normal
he looked at me like, "Damn, man, you still dressed like that?" Because I think he thought I was like 25.
He like, yo, nice Stussy, man. Where'd you get it?
Yeah. He's like, damn it, I better not look like you when I'm 35.
Yo, what the hell, man? All right.
Someone said all-time depressing pause.
Yo, this is the saddest win of all time, man.
Yo. So
Hey,
the rule tomorrow is we're not going to talk about tanking.
Yeah, let's not talk about tanking
or
man.
take any questions about tanking for one night. Okay.
Yeah. So we can't do this for 20 more times down the stretch.
I'm gonna dive a little bit more into Wilt's life and time.
Oh yeah, let's do more studies in the Wilt, man.
No, I think that's about it, man. The 20,000 ladies and 55 rebounds.
No, 20,000 was crazy because like he would go on like I guess Conan O'Brien's show, and then Conan would be like, well, if you divide that by the number of days between like when you would hit puberty to like you're living life now.
Yeah. People are trying to
it's like 1.5 a day or something.
People are trying to hit that math on them, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, 55 rebounds, man. God damn. Yeah.
55 rebounds. Well, Walker Kessler, Walker was still 30 away.
I'd love to see like Draymond Green try that or something.
Yo, 55 rebounds is crazy. How is it even possible that 55 missed shots bounce your way?
Like if you, I
Like,
don't
even
know.
if you're the best rebounder ever, you can only cover like half of the court.
I guarantee there's like some scorekeeping like shenanigans going on. Like
Yeah.
there's no way it was officially 55 boards.
Yes.
Like I refuse to believe it. So
yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, there was one story I did back in the day where I was just like, were there some scorekeepers around the NBA that like were overinflated?
yeah, and there's been clips online of people that
Yeah.
like inflate like Jokic's assists. I remember Westbrook's assists sometimes were called into question in like OKC and stuff like that. So
I think assists were the ones that were probably the most dubious. I think Utah had one because like part of John Stockton has like the assist version of what Wilt was doing. Like Chris Paul recently moved into number 2 in all-time assists, and he's like 5,000 assists behind John Stockton.
Well,
Which speaks to Stockton's like
too bad
like
too bad
durability as
Stockton
well.
doesn't believe in science or stats anymore. So
Well, I know why he didn't believe in stats because that shit was fake.
oh man.
There's that portion, and I think Vancouver used to have some strange officiating back then, or
Not
scorekeeping.
Vancouver Grizzlies.
Yeah, that Sharif Abdul-Rahim season was cap, but
oh man, what they inflated Michael Dickerson's assist? Holy man.
they better inflate the final score, man. No, I mean that's it. Thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate everyone for hanging out. Raptors will play again tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. I believe the Raptors
Wiz, baby.
They play the Wiz twice. Hey, nobody beats the Wiz.
Nobody beats the Wiz. We're gonna see if anybody can beat the Wiz.
Well, I mean, listen. I would expect full on crashing out because the Raptors will probably slide in the reverse standings
if
they beat the Wiz.
If Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton are available, look out for the Wiz, man. They're gonna be a problem tomorrow. So.
All right, well, we'll be around for that. Appreciate everyone. Last thing before we go, nice message here from Coco. Aging is good with the heart, and that's exactly right, Alex. You should be proud of yourself that OG didn't want to go where you were going, man, because your style is unique.
Okay. Let me go, please.
All right, thanks for listening. This has been the Raptors Reaction Podcast, presented by Betway, and we'll be back tomorrow.